There's something profoundly revealing about what a man does when no one's watching. It's in these unseen moments that his true nature surfaces, not the version shaped by performance or social expectations, but the raw, unconscious self. You may think love reveals itself in grand gestures or poetic words, but Jung would argue otherwise. The truth lies in the small, almost imperceptible actions, the ones he doesn't even realize he's making. If he does this when the world isn't looking, it's not just a sign of affection, it's an echo from the deeper realms of the psyche, where archetypes, projections, and the shadow self silently shape our bonds. In this journey, we're about to uncover how unconscious behavior reveals authentic devotion, and why this detail means everything. If you believe that real love is shown when no one's looking, drop this affirmation in the comments. His soul sees me, even in silence. Carl Jung's psychology invites us to look beyond appearances into the hidden architecture of the psyche. At the heart of this philosophy is the idea that we are not fully aware of what drives us. Our actions, especially when we're alone, are shaped by forces that live in the unconscious. So when a man behaves in a certain way without an audience, when he shows tenderness, protects something that reminds him of you, or simply lights up in your absence, he's revealing more than affection. He's showing unconscious alignment with the anima, the feminine archetype that lives within every man. According to Jung, the anima shapes how a man perceives, relates to, and connects with the feminine. When a man begins to integrate his anima, his relationship with women becomes less about projection and more about presence. That's why when he does something kind, thoughtful, or emotionally honest when no one is watching, it isn't just a sweet gesture, it's a signal of inner transformation. He's no longer loving a fantasy of you, he's beginning to love you as you are. This also connects with the principle of individuation, the journey of becoming whole. As he steps away from ego-driven behavior and moves toward authenticity, his actions shift from performative to purposeful. The shadow, his repressed traits, also plays a role here. If he shows care when he could be selfish, or humility where pride once ruled, he's confronting and integrating that shadow. And that's not just attraction. That's devotion forged in the depths of the soul. There is a profound difference between how we behave under observation and how we act when no one is watching. Jung referred to the social self as the persona, the mask we wear to navigate society. This mask isn't inherently false, it's a necessary adaptation. But when love is filtered through the persona, it becomes performative. We say what we think the other wants to hear. We act in ways that earn approval. We project who we think we should be. And yet in solitude, that mask falls. In solitude, we meet the self, the totality of our psyche, including what we consciously accept and what we unconsciously deny. When a man is alone, his choices speak from his depths. Whether he keeps a note you wrote him tucked into his wallet, listens to a song that reminds him of you, or simply smiles at the thought of a shared moment, these small private behaviors are not trivial. They are deeply symbolic. They signal that you are not merely in his life, but in his psyche. And this distinction matters, because to be in someone's life is conditional, but to be embedded in their unconscious world, there, you live beyond roles and expectations. Jung believed that the unconscious mind governs much more of our lives than we realize. If a man behaves lovingly in solitude, it means his unconscious has made a place for you. There's no audience, no reward, no image to uphold. It is in these hidden gestures that the true psyche speaks. And if the psyche has made space for connection, the potential for deep, soulful love is already alive. This also challenges a common misconception that love must always be loud, expressive, or dramatic to be real. Jung's work invites us to rethink that idea. The unconscious often speaks in symbols, in dreams, in subtleties. It rarely shouts. A quiet act, done without needing recognition, may carry more psychic weight than a dozen public declarations. It's not about the scale of the gesture, but the origin. Where does it come from? Ego or essence? This is where the idea of psychological wholeness enters. For Jung, the goal of life was individuation, the integration of all parts of the psyche into a unified self. A man moving toward individuation does not need to be watched to behave in alignment with love. His love doesn't require an audience, because it isn't about image, it's about integration. He's not loving to impress, He's loving because something inside him has aligned with the connection. And when love is integrated into the self, it flows even in silence. It's also in solitude that a man confronts his inner truth. Without distraction, he meets the emotional residues of past relationships, childhood wounds, and archetypal patterns. If he continues to hold you with reverence even in these quiet spaces, it means you have entered his inner landscape not as a fantasy or escape, but as something real and grounding. That reverence is not just about you, it's about the part of him that recognizes value without needing performance. When you wonder what someone truly feels for you, don't just look at what they say in public or how they act when you're around. Ask what their energy does when you're not there. If he thinks of you, protects your memory, acts with you in mind even subtly, then something in his unconscious is oriented toward you. He's not just playing a role, he's becoming a version of himself that includes you, even when the world is absent. And that's the power of the unseen self. It tells the truth without needing words. It chooses in silence. And when that silent choice is you, it means you've reached a place beyond affection. You've reached the soul. At the core of Jungian psychology lies a revolutionary idea that every man carries within him an inner feminine presence, the anima. She is not just a psychological construct, but an archetypal force, representing emotion, intuition, receptivity, and the bridge to the unconscious. Far from being a weakness or something to repress, the anima is a crucial element in a man's journey toward wholeness. And in love, the anima plays a far more profound role than we usually imagine. She shapes not only how a man experiences his own emotional world, but also how he relates to women. And when a man begins to act lovingly even when alone, it's often the anima moving within him, guiding his behavior from a space of deep, internal alignment. In the early stages of psychological development, a man tends to project his anima outward, onto real women in his life. This projection is powerful, but also misleading. It causes him to see not the woman herself, but the reflection of his inner feminine ideal. He may idolize, romanticize, or even fear her, not for who she truly is, but for what she activates within him. This dynamic is often unstable. Once the illusion fades, disillusionment follows. But when a man begins to withdraw that projection and instead integrate the anima consciously, everything changes. A man who loves in solitude, who cares in silence, is likely no longer acting from projection. He is moving toward presence. He is no longer trying to possess the woman to complete himself. Instead, he is allowing his inner feminine to awaken the capacity to feel, to hold space, to empathize. These qualities do not exist for display. They are not acts of seduction or performance. They emerge from the anima's influence and indicate that the man is beginning to relate from the inside out. This shift is vital because it transforms the foundation of his love. No longer rooted in fantasy or unconscious desire, his affection becomes an expression of inner integration. When a man nurtures love without needing to show it, he is embodying the anima's presence. He is listening inwardly rather than reacting outwardly. He is letting the feminine voice within guide his emotional truth. This can manifest as a quiet longing, a protective instinct, or even a sense of inner stillness that holds space for the woman, even in her absence. Jung described the anima as the gateway to the unconscious. Through her, a man accesses not just emotion, but imagination, dreams, creativity, and the sacred. So when he honors love in private, he is not only honoring the woman, he is honoring his own depth. He is surrendering to something that cannot be explained rationally. He is allowing feeling to lead, which is itself a radical act in a culture that conditions men to suppress emotion and replace intimacy with control. This does not mean he becomes passive or loses his masculine essence. Quite the opposite. The integration of the anima strengthens the man's center. He becomes more grounded, more whole, more capable of experiencing intimacy without fear or ego. And when this integration begins to happen, his love no longer seeks validation. It seeks truth. It moves with purpose, but without need. It becomes a quiet flame that burns steadily, even in solitude. And so, if he does something kind, or carries your presence with him quietly, it may not be for recognition. It may be his inner feminine whispering that love is not performance, but essence. This kind of love is not fragile or fleeting. It is archetypal. It belongs not just to the ego, but to the soul. And when a man's anima is active in his love, he begins to see the woman not as an object of desire, but as a mirror, a companion, a reflection of something sacred within himself. One of Carl Jung's most transformative insights is the concept of the shadow, the hidden side of the psyche, made up of the parts of ourselves we repress, deny, or refuse to see. These are not necessarily evil traits, but rather aspects of our nature that remain unconscious because they don't fit the image we want to present to the world. For men, this often includes vulnerability, emotional dependence, fear of rejection, and the longing for deep connection. When a man begins to love from a place of inner work, not performance, and when he remains loyal to you in your absence, it's often a result of him confronting and integrating parts of his own shadow. And that silent choice carries more weight than words ever could. Loyalty that happens in silence is not guided by obligation. It's not driven by fear of loss or desire for reward. It comes from a deeper source, the recognition that what he feels for you aligns with the version of himself he is becoming. That alignment doesn't come easily. It requires facing the discomfort of the shadow, past betrayals, internalized shame, the impulse to disconnect emotionally before someone gets too close. When a man doesn't turn away from those impulses but instead sits with them, examines them, and still chooses to hold space for you, he is doing the real work of love. He is choosing you not because you're perfect, and not because you complete him, but because you reflect something real in him, something he refuses to abandon, even in private. This choice is not dramatic. It may look like a quiet decision to delete a message that could have led to temptation. It may be a refusal to speak poorly of you when someone else is frustrated with their own partner. It may simply be a recurring thought of gratitude that arises when he's alone. None of this earns applause, but it signals something powerful. He is honoring the connection even when no one is watching, and that is not behavior fueled by ego. It is rooted in self-awareness and conscious integrity. Shadow work is often misunderstood as a one-time reckoning. In reality, it is a lifelong process of turning inward and asking, what parts of me are sabotaging connection? What am I avoiding? What masks do I wear to protect myself from love? When a man engages in this work, especially in the context of a relationship, he begins to make decisions that reflect not just what he feels, but who he is becoming. Loyalty, then, is not a rule he follows. It's an outcome of his inner evolution. In Jungian terms, this is the movement toward individuation, the process of becoming whole by integrating both light and dark aspects of the self. A man who has not faced his shadow may project his fears onto the woman he loves. He may blame, avoid, idealize, or withdraw. But when he starts to recognize these projections as pieces of himself, he reclaims his power. And from that place, he can love not from need or fantasy, but from wholeness. Silent loyalty is one of the clearest expressions of this. It shows that even when old patterns arise, patterns of avoidance, infidelity, or emotional distance, he is choosing differently. He is breaking generational cycles without speaking about it. He is loving from a place of responsibility, not impulse. And what makes this even more meaningful is that these choices are often invisible. You may never know the exact moments he chose you over an old pattern, a distraction, or a defense mechanism, but those moments exist, and they shape the soul of the relationship. They create a psychic bond that does not rely on constant affirmation. It is built on trust, not just in you, but in himself. Trust that he can face his inner conflicts and still remain true to the connection. So when he loves you quietly, when he protects your presence in his life without needing recognition, it is not passivity. It is maturity. It is the mark of a man who has done the work or is doing it, and who knows that real loyalty is not proclaimed, it is lived. And that kind of love rooted in shadow work and silent choice is not only rare, it is transformative. In the beginning of many relationships, what we feel may seem transcendent, effortless, magnetic, even fated. But often this intensity is not a reflection of who the other person truly is, but of what we've projected onto them. Carl Jung described projection as the unconscious act of placing inner content, desires, fears, ideals, onto another person. It's not deception in a manipulative sense. It's the psyche's natural attempt to externalize what is unresolved or unclaimed within. For a man, this often means projecting his anima, the inner feminine, onto a woman. making her carry the emotional weight of his unacknowledged longings. She becomes the fantasy, the muse, the answer. But projection cannot sustain real love. At some point, the illusion begins to crack, and what happens next, whether the relationship disintegrates or deepens, depends on whether the man is willing to move from projection to presence. The shift from projection to presence marks a psychological and spiritual turning point. It requires the man to see the woman not as a symbol or savior, but as a human being with depth, contradiction, and her own internal world. It is a humbling process. The very qualities he once idealized may now challenge him. Her independence may no longer be enchanting. It may threaten his sense of control. Her vulnerability may no longer evoke only tenderness. It may stir his own repressed fragility. And yet, if he chooses to stay engaged and emotionally present even when the fantasy dissolves, he is beginning to love from the self, not from the ego. Presence, in Jungian terms, arises from individuation. It is the ability to be with another without trying to possess, control, or escape. It is a love that no longer needs to be validated because it's not dependent on illusion. When a man becomes present, he stops reaching for the ideal and begins relating to the real. He sees the woman as she is, not perfect but sacred in her authenticity. And in doing so, he also sees himself more clearly. The parts of him that once sought completion through her now ask for integration within. This is why real love can feel quieter but deeper. The dramatic highs of projection give way to a steady current of truth. There is less craving, more contentment, less fantasy, more intimacy. And often, this presence reveals itself not in words but in what he does when no one is looking. He may no longer be driven to perform affection. Instead, he simply lives it. He takes care of things that matter to her, even when she's not around. He holds emotional boundaries not because he has to, but because something in him respects the space they've built. These actions are not dictated by the image he wants to present. They are guided by the reality he's accepted. This stage of love is challenging because it asks both people to confront their shadows and release their illusions, but it is also profoundly liberating. When projection ends, true relationship begins. There is room for growth, conflict, healing, and depth. The man who has moved through this transformation no longer needs love to define him. He chooses love because it reflects the self he has become. And here is where the unseen gestures become so meaningful. When he continues to love you when you're not around, when he remembers you with kindness, holds you in his choices, and honors you in his solitude, he is no longer loving the idea of you. He is loving you, fully, consciously, and with presence. That presence is a result of inner labor, often invisible, often painful, but always necessary. It means he has met himself in the depths and decided to love, not from lack, but from fullness. Projection may be how love begins, but presence is how love lasts. And when a man carries you in his quiet moments, not as a fantasy, but as a real presence woven into his daily experience, you are not just in his heart, you are in his soul. Real love doesn't shout, it echoes, in silence, in choice, in the private spaces where ego holds no power. When a man loves you when no one is watching, it's not performance, it's presence. Each quiet gesture, each unseen loyalty, each small moment of affection without an audience speaks of a deeper bond. Through Jungian lenses, we see that these acts are not random. They are reflections of inner work. The integration of shadow, the awakening of the anima, and the movement from projection to presence are not just concepts. They're the hidden architecture of soulful connection. If you've ever doubted the meaning of a subtle act, know this. In the language of the psyche, the smallest moments can carry the deepest truths. Real love lives in what he chooses when no one is watching. If this message spoke to you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a comment sharing your affirmation. And if you're ready to go deeper, click on the video showing now on your screen. It's your next step on the path of transformation, love, and inner truth. Let love be more than words. Let it be a reflection of who we become when the world is silent.